Talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No.
Nope.
Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Welcome to DBL. Good to see you all this morning. We are going to start with a case of deadly turbulence, as you've probably heard all over. One passenger has died and at least 70 people were injured on board a Singapore Airlines flight on Tuesday. 20 people are reportedly still in intensive care. 20 people. So video from inside the aircraft showed the extent of the damage. The flight was midway through meal service, which is, the worst time, when it was hit by extreme turbulence, causing the plane, get this, to violently drop 6,000 feet. It tossed unbuckled passengers way up into overhead bins. Now, a 73-year-old British man died from a suspected heart condition during the incident. He was on he said, a trip of a lifetime with his wife. We are so sorry. Now other passengers are describing the ordeal. Take a look.
And I ended up hitting my head on the ceiling. My wife did. Some poor people who are walking around ended up doing somersaults. It was absolutely terrible.
The whole plane was shuddering, and you think it's going to land on land, in the water. Is it going to crack up? Because, great pieces were falling off and dropping on the floor, people getting hit in the head. There were a few of the staff who'd been injured, and there was broken crockery. Their faces were really covered in blood. It was awful.
One huge loud noise, things were coming through the ceiling, water everywhere, people crying. Yeah, I don't think I'll be flying again for a while.
All right, so what do we think of this? How freaked out are you by turbulence? Jeff, you don't love turbulence, famously.
I don't. This is a great story leading into the most traveled weekend of the year.
You're right, Memorial Day weekend. How do you feel?
What am I going to do? I don't like it. And my mom, maybe I get it from my mom, she's terrified to fly, and she's flying in today. So, Mom, I hope you're not watching. I hope you're on the plane. Yeah, so she hates it, so this isn't a great story for her. It's not a great story for me because I was always told nobody's ever died from turbulence. Now that's not true anymore. But this might be not related to turbulence, heart condition, but I don't like it. I talk to you about it, Al, all the time. You fly Chris. I talk to our producer all the time about it. And when I'm on the plane with people, like when I see a pilot or I meet a pilot, I want to talk to them. I want to be like, what's going on? Let me get up there. Maybe it's a control thing.
Yeah.
Right? What's happening?
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. I would listen to, in the, years back, they'd have traffic control on your button.
Like one of the buttons, yeah.
That you could listen to. And I would listen to traffic control to try to teach myself, why is it doing that? Why is it making this noise? Why are we going up? Why are we losing speed? And it kind of helped me through that process. But drinking helps as well.
Drinking also helps. Just so you guys know, it can be caused by storms, mountains, strong air current, jet streams. But there's a study out looking at specific point over the North Atlantic. It found the amount of severe turbulence per year rose from 55% from 1979 to 2020. And some researchers are saying this is consistent with effects of climate change and to expect more of this. What do you have to say to that?
That's over my pay grade. Maybe. If the Earth is warmer air does cause turbulence. But, I can't speak to that. I just, and Jeff, I always tell you, I feel less comfortable in the back of an Uber. Like, much less comfortable. You are in the car with a rando. And you don't know what their intoxication level is.
That's a good call.
You don't know what their intentions with you are. I can't imagine being a woman in the back of an Uber, because there have been a lot more incidents, sadly, of that than there have of people dying from turbulence. But I think, Jeff, you hit it on the head, and that's something, if you ever do talk to anybody, a professional, I think there's got to be a way to help people that have issues with control.
Yeah.
But I don't know, but you don't feel that probably on a cruise ship.
Well, no, I assumed, not to diagnose you, but I assumed it's a control thing. Like it's kind of like being in the passenger seat. Sometimes someone else is driving. Like Anthony's driving, my foot is constantly like trying to go through the floor because I'm like, we aren't in Canada anymore. Like, what is going on?
You should just get one of those driver's ed things where you have a brake.
I just stop. Yes. Or I'm like, why are we so close to this vehicle? Why are you tailgating right now? So to me, it's control. But when I'm on a plane, I'm like, I clearly have no control, so I might as well have a mimosa, sit back and relax.
There we go.
That's a very good call. Now, we do have a graphic for people who might be a little bit scared. So here's how to avoid turbulence-related injuries. First off, stay buckled in. That's a really big deal. Use an approved child safety seat and keep the children under 2 in there. Listen to pilots, obviously, flight attendants, and sit towards the middle of the plane. You feel the effects less there. But this one, I think you could just feel it everywhere. This just whomp.
I've only been on one flight where it was extremely turbulent. I've been on Singapore Airlines a bunch. I used to go back and forth to Amsterdam on that. But you know, I was on an Air Mexicana flight when I worked for Carnival Cruise Lines, leaving Mexico, coming back to the States, and it was just the last flight of the night. Horrible turbulence, bags coming out of the overhead, and he's speaking in Spanish. And like he said something in Spanish, and the woman across the aisle from me burst into tears. And I was like, I know, Eric. And I'm like, all right, I was hammered, I'm sure. And I was like, this is hilarious. And I was sitting next to this English girl who was just traveling by herself. People from England just travel the world by themselves. She was by herself.
Just England.
I think all over the world.
I think a lot of people do that.
Well, they get holidays, so they get a month.
That's true.
So you can kind of bounce around. And it was so bad, she grabbed my hand. And I held her hand for like until it calmed down. We ended up talking, and she was like, you know, the flight was delayed, so she got stuck in Miami. I was like, hey, you just stay at my buddy's house. I dropped her off at my friend's house. I went out partying, and you know, came back, and she was cooking breakfast, and we talked, and she went back to English.
So she was more fearful of the turbulence
than a stranger,
some random man she met on the plane and his buddy's house.
Absolutely. Like she was very trusting, which, but I got, look at this face, Erica. This face not gonna do anything to you.
I wish we had more time because I'd like to fill in that blank between morning and.
Yeah, you know, Miami 2007.
Different. Good times. Good times. All right, let us know how you guys deal with turbulence. Do you not fly? Because who's the football player, or John Madden?
Yes.
He never flew. Is that right? He took a bus everywhere. Yeah. Okay. Coming up
That's
on
a
DBL.
nice little sports fact.
Oh, thank you.
And I felt like Jeff didn't acknowledge it. Someone step in. Good job.
Thank you, Al.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. More trouble for Diddy, y'all, as he gets accused of sexual assault by a former model. We're going to break down this lawsuit for you. And from Home Alone and City Slickers, oh yes, Daniel Stern is telling us behind-the-scenes stories from those iconic movies. Marv is here. All right, welcome back to you, DBL. Sean Diddy Combs is facing another lawsuit. So let me explain here. A former model who won MTV's Model Mission claims the music mogul drugged and sexually assaulted her at his studio in 2003. She said she, quote, knew she had a moral obligation to speak up after she saw other women like Cassie file lawsuits with similar claims. Meantime, 50 Cent has sold his multi-part documentary about the sexual assault allegations against Diddy to Netflix after a reported bidding war. Whoo. In case you didn't know, Diddy is facing a sex trafficking probe as well as multiple misconduct lawsuits. He has maintained his innocence. What do we all think of this latest accusation? This model says all of her opportunities disappeared after the alleged assault. He had blackballed her in the industry, and she became severely depressed and allegedly attempted suicide. What do you think, Erica?
It's not shocking.
No.
I mean, as I said before, when you see someone manhandle a young woman like that, you know that that's not the first time that they've done it, and likely not the last time, and they will do it again. When all of these people are starting to come forward, there's so much speculation, of course, on the internet, and it's interesting to me how people chime in on things that have absolutely nothing to do with them. And the reason why I'm saying this is, like, if I am a victim of a sexual assault and I see someone come forward and that somehow gives me the courage to come forward and tell my story, then I have a connection to that. If you are someone who is looking at someone coming forward as a victim and scrutinizing their victimhood, it tells me about your connection to the predator.
Whoa.
I feel very strongly about this. You are either a predator empathizer or you see parts of yourself in that person.
Wow.
Because to take time out to actually have something to say, so disgustingly have something to say, when people are trying to come forward and speak their truth, it just, that's how I feel about it.
That is really well said. I hadn't thought about that. You're shaking your head. What do you think?
I mean, it's a reckoning for our entire society. I've said for a long time, and Jeff, you and I were just talking off air about this maybe a week or two ago. It's hard for guys like us, men like who our fathers were. It's hard for us to understand the world that a lot of women that we knew and loved grew up in, because we lived in such a different world. We were shielded from a lot of that stuff. There's somebody who's very close to me in my family that was married to somebody. And I pointed at the picture and I was like, oh, who's that? And she was just like, we don't talk about him. But the level of violence that was allowed to go on, no, just let him sleep it off. You know, that it's impossible, thank God, for us to be able to fathom in 2024. But all the things that happened prior to this, the catch and kill stories, whether it was Harvey Weinstein, all these things, it was a thing where your career would be over. And these accusations all kind of have the same kind of ring of truth to them. He told me he wanted to go over lines. He liked my tape.
Right.
And, you know, it just, if you're a predator, these are the kind of professions that you gravitate towards.
Sure.
Some in which young women are in need of you to get to that next step, and you're that gatekeeper, and the kind of personality that would take advantage of that would gravitate sadly towards that. So I think we have to deal with all this and start to understand that
I think we just need to be honest that this is our origin story for a lot of people. Like, when I talk about my great-grandmother, Eiler, who I knew, she passed away when she was 98 years old. Like, my great-grandmother was half white. She was white presenting. And when I have these conversations, no one wanted to have the conversation with me about how or why that was.
Well, what's the reason?
Until very recently. Well, you didn't know that your great-great-grandmother was abducted at 14 by a white man who raped her, and now that's your origin story.
Wow.
Like, so callous, because it's like, if that is the truth, and it's the cold, hard truth, then people don't really want to have those conversations because there's so much pain behind it.
Right.
But then when we don't have those conversations, it normalizes the behaviors and it protects people who continue to generationally do this over and over because they didn't see repercussions and they don't believe that they should have repercussions.
Fascinating conversation. I also want to let you guys know Peloton has stopped playing Diddy's music. We'd love to hear from you if you also are no longer going to be playing Diddy's music. We'll be right back.
Hello.
I laugh every time. Welcome back. That was a clip from Home Alone. You know Daniel Stern is the wet bandit, the sticky bandit, and who can forget the city slicker? Well, earlier we spoke with Daniel Stern all about his new memoir, Home and Alone. Take a look. Please welcome to the show. We love him, Daniel Stern.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Wow, can you believe it? I really have a book out. You were holding it.
I got it.
You did it.
Yep, I got connections, Daniel. Yes, I do. Give me a call.
Daniel, let's jump right in. My kids are 5 and 7, and they don't care what I do or who I talk to. Today, they're gonna care.
Yeah,
we're talking to Marv. Yeah, they're gonna love this. So I got I got to ask you about Home Alone. I love audition stories, and I hear you actually insisted on auditioning for Marv twice. What do you think was missing from your first audition?
You know, when I read that script, I mean, it was, the script read like the movie. Perfect. Funny. It was a movie I had to be in. I wanted to be in. I did the audition. I went and met Chris Columbus, did the audition in the office somewhere. I was driving home, and I just felt like, oh, I could have done it better. After hearing what Chris had talked about, I thought I could do it better. I could do it better. I drove off. I stopped on the freeway. There was before cell phones, so I called my agent and said, I got to go back. I got to go back. I think I can do it better. They said, don't go back. Don't go back. Don't be a fool. I talked them into going back. I went back and did another audition. I don't know what I did different. I don't think I did much different. Chris told me later, you already had the part, but I just wanted to be part of the movie so much that I wanted to be sure, you know?
Wow.
That story could have went a lot differently.
Yes,
thank
goodness. That's good. I like that resilience.
Sure.
All right, one of your most memorable scenes, which the whole studio cracked up when we talked about it, is when Kevin put the tarantula on your face, okay? What was that day? We're playing it. There it is on set. And how did everyone react to that blood-curdling scream? And did you have to do that several takes, that scream? Here it is. There it is.
That was a crazy moment, because we had been doing a lot of stunts, and they'd made like fake Christmas bulbs to crush under my feet, or a rubber nail to stick in my foot. But when I got there, that was a real spider, and crawling on my face. I was like, "There's no prop for this one." So there it is. Yeah, that's. That is an iconic moment. By that point, I was having so much fun doing the stunts. I said, all right, let's do it. I did ask the tarantula wrangler, like, if I scream, is that going to scare the spider?
Right.
And he said, spiders can't hear.
Oh.
Which... as far as I know, spiders don't have ears, but I was not an expert. But I took a chance and just let it rip. I was trying to go after the scream that the woman in Psycho from the shower scene. I thought that would be kind of funny. But that scream has lived on for a long time.
Yeah, that's an Easter egg. I like that.
I don't know how you did that, but obviously Home Alone's getting a lot of love.
Yeah, he just said how he did it.
Yeah, he literally just told
us. He just said it. Sorry, sir.
I was not going to make fun of Sam's old telephone she did to start the interview.
Oh, what?
Because I'm a professional.
Okay, all right.
No one has a phone like that. I digress. Obviously Home Alone's getting a lot of love as it should, but I'm a City Slickers guy, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
The argument at the Christmas party when do not call Mr. Levine. That's for me. And I read that you did all your own stunts, but you turned down the horse riding lessons. So why'd you do that, and did you regret it?
No, I came on the movie very late, actually. I didn't turn down the horseback riding lessons. I was too late, and there was no way I was ever going to learn to really ride a horse anyway. In terms of doing my own stunts, I did, that's me on a horse right there, but I had an incredible stuntman. And even on the simple stuff, my stuntman would ride my horse and have my horse know exactly what it was supposed to do, because all I could do was hang on. I mean, the thing that ended up being funny was that I was such a terrible rider that I started getting all the laughs as being a real City Slicker. Billy and Bruno were like experts on the horse, and I think they were trying to copy me of how bad a rider I actually was.
Thank you so much, Daniel. DBL Nation, pick up Daniel's book, Home and Alone, available now. Thank you again. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Welcome back. When it comes to health insurance, there are a lot of myths, okay? So here's one of them. You remember this one? You can't sign up for new insurance to cover pre-existing conditions. False. False. Most policies cover pre-existing conditions, even for seniors, but there may be a waiting period before your coverage starts. Have any of you guys looked into the fine print of your insurance plans?
I think you can skip me. Yes. I haven't read anything, which is terrible. It's nothing to brag about. Do you, Jeff, I would think you would have.
If it was on like a podcast.
Yeah.
If I could listen to it, maybe. Yeah.
You don't read
That's a good
your,
idea.
do you read your stuff?
It's too long.
It's made that way.
But it's kind
got
of
kids.
It really is. Like sometimes when I was watching a commercial with my girl and like they were like using words that I knew from graduate school, talking about mRNA proteins and all. And I'm like, you're talking to citizens. It really seems like it's written in kind of this legalese so we can't understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a trap.
It's like voting.
Yeah, exactly.
It's meant to confuse you.
And
Yes.
taxes. You aren't supposed to understand. I still don't get what I just
And
did.
service charge. What's that?
Yeah. And fees for the place.
We know what fees are.
Okay. Knowing what insurance will or will not cover is important, and better benefits can help. Many Americans already on Medicare may not have a plan with all the benefits accessible to them. So listen, reach out to Medicare Advantage advisors today. I tell you, the benefits review is free. Just call 1-800-293-9930. We love...
I meant to say processing fees.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
what I was
processing
thinking
fees.
of. Okay. You're the worst. Okay, here's some comments on turbulence. Megan says they do need to stop kids flying free on a lap. Get them a seat. That's a good point. You don't ride with them on your lap in a car. And then Julie says, I know turbulence is normal, but it's still crazy scary.
Yeah. It's nothing to be concerned with.
Yeah.
This is once in a lifetime.
Yeah, that's right. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.